Hello, I'm Eric Snodgrass, and thank you for watching today's Ag Forecast, brought to you by Nutrien Ag Solutions, your premier platform for real-time global insights. We'll begin first by looking at the flow of the jet stream on Sunday, and a couple of the major features that we're going to be talking about in this video will be the position and strength of this upper-level ridge that's sitting here over the southwest. We will be watching a storm track that's going through Canada, and we're going to be watching several subtle features in the jet stream, like the one that you see right here, which sparked a lot of severe weather in parts of Minnesota and Wisconsin and the Dakotas over the weekend. We will also be discussing how with time we're expecting to see broader troughing over the eastern half of North America and what that's going to do to our temperatures. But certainly here, just looking back quickly, that trough that you see slid right through there, well, it supported the development of a low pressure system that skirted right along the U.S.-Canada border. And as it did so, over the last 24 hours, we picked up quite a bit of heavy rainfall. Several locations in here picking up between 3/4 and over 3 inches of rainfall in parts of the Dakotas, Minnesota, Wisconsin. Now, the trailing end of that front has been sliding down like this early in the morning on Monday. And there are many of us in parts of Texas, Oklahoma, and Kansas, in parts of Illinois, even eastern Iowa and Indiana that are desperate for some of the rainfall from this front. But before I show you where that's going, I at least want to take you to parts of Minnesota and show you something kind of amazing here. So this is from the radar that is near Minneapolis. Minneapolis is just where I pointed that arrow. It's just off the image here. And north of Biscay, there was a supercell thunderstorm that had a very well-defined hook echo on it. See it right in through there? And inside that hook echo, we saw this powerful wedge tornado. And this particular tornado, where I'm waiting in the day on Monday to see what kind of damage we got out of it, but I'm going to thank Amanda Hill for posting this and sending it to the National Weather Service so that we could see this powerful tornado that went through parts of Minnesota. What was interesting is while I was kind of looking back over the weekend and I was watching this particular tornado, I saw this image as well. This one showed up in my Twitter feed, put out there by Christian Garcia, and it looks very similar, right? See this big wedge? But this is actually produced by some thunderstorms in Arizona. And you're not seeing a tornado, you're actually just seeing the shadow of the tops of those thunderstorms blocking the sunset. But it looks very similar to the map, but the picture I just showed you. So the United States had some interesting weather over the weekend, and it's also been quite interesting over the last couple of weeks. Now, to set us up for this bigger perspective here, I'm going to take you back to the time period that was July the 14th through July the 21st. And during that particular time period, we had pretty highly amplified flow across much of the Gulf of Alaska and the Pacific that dove into a broader trough across the northwest and then built into this ridge that allowed us to see some pretty serious heat that stretched from Texas up into the Corn Belt and back over to the eastern United States. That was that heat wave we had. Barry snuck underneath us, keeping things cool there in the Delta. Well, since then, look at what's happened over the last 7 days. That's the map that's on the left. About the only place in the United States that's seen extreme heat has been parts of California. Sustained extreme heat over the last 7 days. Thankfully, that heat is recently broken. But after that front moved through the eastern 2/3 of the United States, we've hung on to this cooler, drier pattern for quite some time. Well, cooler and drier for some, but there have been some places, especially in the north central plains, that have been very, very wet with this pattern. So we got to talk about that. Over that entire time period shown on those previous two maps, take a look at this. It's the last 14 days of total accumulated precipitation. We can see a few of the bigger features. Barry was here. Heavy rainfall in parts of the eastern Corn Belt, but really getting over to the northeast with that front that sagged through a week ago. But you can see where the surface ridge was and the flow around it. These are those ridge-riding thunderstorms we've been talking about. And then the upper level ridge that sat here over parts of the western United States, bringing quite a bit of shower and thunderstorm activity to that area. Well, what's important to see here is not just who got the heavy rain, but who didn't. Parts of Kansas, Oklahoma, Texas, very, very dry. There's also a corridor right in through here that has missed out on this as well. And I'm very aware of this as I live in that corridor, and I have not had rain on my property, really decent rain since July the 6th. And when I say decent, I'm talking about anything more than 2/10 of an inch of rainfall. And as a consequence of this, we are seeing some of the crop in that area quite stressed and desperately needing rainfall. So as a result, the latest drought monitor, take a look at this. Not much change around the country except for where I just put that circle. You can see here that we're starting to see the first stages of drought showing up here in parts of Iowa, Illinois, and Indiana. We're going to have to keep a very close eye on this as we move forward in the forecast. Some good news, though. There is a front, the low pressure system sitting here. There is a front draped across this region early in the morning. You can see the northwest winds behind it and the south winds out ahead of it, lifting a lot of Gulf moisture. And because of that, we are going to be watching early in the day showers and storms be progressing through parts of Illinois, Missouri, Wisconsin, over to Michigan and Indiana. And the hope is to see that the tail end of this brings some scattered showers and storms down here into parts of Texas and Oklahoma that desperately need it as well. Just to show you what this looks like, we're going to start off here with our high-resolution rapid refresh model, starting you off early in the morning on Monday, taking you out to midday on Tuesday. We can see the scattered showers and storms on that low moving through parts of Ontario over to Quebec here, bringing, again, rain through parts of the eastern Corn Belt, Michigan, Ohio, Indiana, and thankfully through parts of Illinois. The tail end of it stretching down there into the Delta, into parts of Arkansas, and we're going to see some heavy rainfall down there in parts of Louisiana. But you do also notice in parts of Oklahoma and in parts of Texas, some showers and storms. Now, I want you to see something quite interesting about this flow pattern. Notice the clockwise motion over the four corner states. I'm talking about in this area. One region we're going to be talking quite a bit about will be this corridor right in through here for the development of more showers and thunderstorms, kind of on a repeat mode as we go through the next 10 days. And that'll be a critical piece to watch. Because when we look at the next 10 days, European model on the left, GFS, these are both operational runs, but the GFS over there on the right, we see a few things. Canadian prairies, quite a bit of shower and thunderstorm activity. Again, a lot of that's due to the storm track there. Secondly, you notice that both models are picking up on a feature here in the middle part of the United States, coming around on northwest flow like this. We're going to have to do a daily forecast of where those thunderstorms will be, but it's interesting to see that both models are seeing the same thing. Where is there some discrepancy? I would have to say that over here along the East Coast, the European model is drier than the GFS. And both models will be looking at a system that's coming out of the tropics. We're going to talk about it toward the end of this video. Right now, not forecast to become anything major, but something to be on the lookout for. So this is the next 10 days as forecast by the GFS and the European model. For those of you that are very dry in parts of eastern Iowa and Illinois, we are hoping that the European model has got this down pat. But we're going to see what some of those differences look like as we press forward here. Now, this is the next 15 days. And what we're looking at here is the ensemble. So we got a 50-member ensemble over here on the left from the European and a 20-member ensemble over here on the right. And there are some similarities. You see both models have got this corridor showing up wetter than average. They have parts of the southeast dry, but remember, in the southeast this time of year, a lot of daily convective activity, so thunderstorms, and the wild card is always what might come out of the tropics. Where there's a bit of a difference is what's going on in parts of the northern plains and the Great Lakes states, with the GFS being a wetter model, but they do agree on what's going on out here in the Gulf of Alaska and through parts of the Canadian prairies. So I'm impressed overall at the decent model agreement that we do have here as we just stretch this out over the next 15 days. What about temperatures, though? Take a look at this. Next 5 days over here on the left from the European, again, on the right, the GFS. We can see that both models agree there's a quarter in through here that's going to be cooler than average. This isn't cold. This is just slightly cooler than average. They both have the northeast warm. They both have this corridor warm as well, with the northwest showing up with a cool bias. I'm impressed by how well the two models are picking up on the same pattern the next 5 days. It even continues into days 5 through 10 and days, that time period here. Notice the western United States hanging onto the warmer bias. This particular region showing up with a slight cooler bias. But the only thing I can say is that the European model wants to be a bit warmer through parts of the northern plains, getting over into the Great Lakes states and then into the northeast. But the differences here are very subtle. We're just talking about a couple of degrees here. This isn't a major difference overall. Even out to day 15, I'm getting some good model agreement. You can see that overall, the models are trying to take this broader ridge and flatten it out, something like this. Those ridge riding storms over the top of it into this area. and a deeper trough here, which is keeping much of the eastern, third of North America with a slight cool bias with time. All right, so if we're seeing such good model agreement with the temperature pattern and they're still picking up on similar features with precipitation, that tells me that this forecast, well, I've got a lot more confidence in it as we move through the middle part of August. And therefore, we need to add perspective to this. So we're going to focus only in this particular slide on what's going on in the Corn Belt. And I just want you to see the map that's on the left first, or the graph, excuse me. From basically the end of June about 25th, 26th, all the way to July 21st, much of the Corn Belt spent that time above average. So there was rapid accumulation of growing degree day units. At times, the crop really caught up. And even though we did see some extreme heat there, look at what it did to the map that's on the right. Now, I had been showing you our growing degree day anomaly map starting on June 1st. But I decided to show this one going back to March 1st, because for the first time in a while, we have a large section of the Corn Belt here that is actually showing up with a positive anomaly. That's what this heat that we got from the month, from about the 23rd, 24th of June all the way to the 21st, 22nd of July, did here. And so we are now actually back in we're ahead on our heat units. Now that doesn't negate the fact that the crop was planted so late, but it's an important feature to kind of look out for on the whole. Other regions, just pause the video, take a look at your spot, but I want to move on with this forecast here, because as we take a look at where the flow is going, I want you to see several troughs moving through the north, kind of the northern Canadian prairies here. I want you to see that we're going to develop a high over low pattern out here in the Gulf of Alaska, and watch for the broader trough to set up here over the eastern half of North America while this bigger ridge spreads across this area. Those are the main features to be discussing as I play this forward. Watch it happen here. Taking you out here through the next several days, I want to pause this as we get out right here. This is now the 5th of August. Got some important things to see. Do you see this? That's just another trough moving in this direction. That's going to be our main storm track. That's also what's going to help develop the broader trough here, cooling some things down. Meanwhile, our broader ridge sits here, which is what keeps the western half of the country warm. And we stagnate the flow in the Pacific by producing this high, see it there, over low, so the low's out here. And so this pattern doing something like this really kind of stagnates the Pacific jet stream flow. That is what's going to allow the blocking that's been happening over Greenland to push this trough here into the eastern part of the United States. Now, I'm sorry that got a little bit confusing. There's a lot of pieces moving here, but overall, this is what makes us see that through mid-August, we are not going to be seeing major temperature stresses across the eastern half of the United States. If there's heat, it will be out west. That's what we're talking about. So let's get into some of the details here with our European model. Starting things off, our low pressure system from the weekend is now sitting here just north of Lake Superior, and the front will be, as we already talked about, dragging through these states over toward the eastern Corn Belt. As I click play on this, let's pause it right there. The front, by the time we get into Tuesday night, is now progressed all the way over to the eastern part of the United States. So we're going to be watching for scattered showers and storms all along this corridor right in through here. Now, if you remember, one area I want you to watch carefully is right in through here. As the broader ridge retreats west, you're going to be seeing multiple chances in this corridor right in through here where I'm kind of drawing of having precipitation. Meanwhile, on the other side of this, do you see this broader area of higher atmospheric pressure? Well, Tuesday night into Wednesday morning, you see that high spreading over parts of Wisconsin, drying things out in this area. Right in through here, though, Wednesday morning, some scattered showers and thunderstorms. Progressing forward, the surface high pressure system now spreading over the Great Lakes states. So after the early week rain moves through, we have a dry week after this and cooler temperatures. But you can see once again, I've got you all the way now to Thursday night. Getting into Friday morning, it's this corridor again that is going to be seeing showers and thunderstorms. Meanwhile, we got systems moving through the Canadian prairies. All right, let's now get in toward the weekend. This is Friday afternoon, Friday evening, and now getting into Saturday morning. See it again right in through here. Both the European model and the GFS are trying to paint a region in this corridor as seeing more active showers and thunderstorms. Now we're going to talk about the tropical moisture coming in down here very, very soon, but now we're getting into Saturday afternoon and evening. Now, at this point, big low pressure system is forecast to move through the Canadian prairies. There will be a front drape to the south of it right in through here. So this could be some severe weather in the north central plains by the time we get into Saturday. But that deeper low moves toward the Hudson Bay and drags a front right in through here. So we'll have to see if early next week we can get some showers and storms in through this corridor, although right now the model run is showing up dry at that time period. As I keep going here, though, let's get out to next Monday afternoon, Monday evening, Tuesday morning. What do we see again? Our next chance for showers and storms in this corridor. That is why you saw both in the ensemble and in the operational models, this area showing up wetter than average, okay? So that's our bigger picture here as we progress at least through the next 8 or 9 days on precipitation from the European model. We also need to be watching the tropics. This is an animation here of the open Atlantic Ocean, and we're looking at infrared satellite temperatures. And there's a few things I want you to notice here. First of all, very robust tropical wave that's moving off of the west coast of Africa. That is one I'm going to have to watch. There's quite a bit of drier and dusty air in here that this is going to have to get into, but overall looking quite good. What the National Hurricane Center, though, is watching is this region of tropical convection right in through this corridor. In fact, right now they've given it about a 20% chance of developing into a stronger tropical system as it progresses over the Greater Antilles through the Bahamas and there toward Florida. Now, some interesting players on the broader scale about our tropical season here. One, with the collapse of El Nino, so El Nino signal is gone across the Pacific Ocean. We have seen a weakening of the wind shear in the Atlantic, and that typically means we have a better environment for a tropical system to develop. The position of the subtropical ridge has largely been sitting here. In other words, it's been parked right in the central part of the Atlantic Ocean, and that may help steer systems away from the U.S. if they develop here in the near term. But like we've been talking about, there's quite a bit of dry and dusty air coming off of Africa. We call that the Saharan air layer that these storm systems are going to have to deal with. So it's just the beginning of August. We have to talk about this every forecast video to see where we're going to be getting tropical systems to form, because ocean temperatures are very suitable for the development of tropical systems. So that's the analysis I've got for you right now. We'll keep a close eye throughout this week on the system here that will be moving toward the U.S. coastline and potentially developing, although again, about a 20% probability of that occurring. All right, quick international update, and then we'll wrap this one up. Major changes in Europe after shattering records, all-time records in parts of the Netherlands, Belgium, getting over into parts of Germany and France especially. They have a deep coastal low that's sitting just offshore here. This is midday in the day on Monday, and that's going to be the name of the game as we move forward. Take a look at this. Europe's temperatures over the next week. That's what I got for you over here on the left. We don't see the extreme heat anymore. In fact, you're going to see multiple systems racing through the mid part of Europe here, keeping temperatures much more closer to average and quite wet. You can see the wetter corridor being painted in this area over the next 15 days. Just a reminder, while we've seen this extreme heat in Western Europe, and that, just to show you again, that flow was really amplified like this. It was cooler than average across much of the Russian wheat belt, across much of Ukraine, and they're continuing to stay on the wetter side of things as we progress forward over the next 15 days. So keep a close eye on that. And to wrap this one up, I want to take you quickly over to what's going on in Asia. So we're looking at India and China here. Just a broader picture here over the next 10 days. The growing regions that are south of Beijing, so I'm talking about this area, are seeing some precipitation, although just a bit farther south of there, this particular area, which had a lot of flooding earlier in the season, is showing up quite dry. The major growing regions just north of the Korean Peninsula actually have a wetter bias moving forward as well. And the upper levels of the atmosphere, combined with the surface flow, are really allowing for the next big pulse of tropical moisture to moving through the Indian monsoon. We're expecting between 10 and 20 inches of additional rainfall. What is very interesting about the Western Pacific Ocean so far this year, and this is major for what we talk about with Asian weather, is a lack of tropical activity. What I mean by that is we've not seen any major tropical cyclones or typhoons come in yet, and that's quite rare to get through the month of July without seeing that. So we'll keep a close eye on things globally for you, but with that, I'm going to go ahead and wrap up this forecast video. We at Nutrien Ag Solutions hope you have a great week. We have several forecasts coming out each day at my.nutrienagsolutions.com. Hope to see you there. Have a great week. Thank you.